Hello, everyone. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to Building Secure Business Application Best Practices for Design to Deployment. I am Mohammad Aurangzeb. I am a partner solution architect for business applications, and I work with partners on their AI adoption journey, implementing security and implementation best practices, and we help them build solution on Microsoft Copilot Studio, Power Platform, and Dynamics 365. In this session, I want you go with two takeaways. Number one, as a developer and maker, how you can collaborate on security implementation. And number two, I will provide you a checklist which you can take it to review your existing implementations, solutions as well. And if you are planning to create new solutions, how you can collaborate to cover the security aspects of it. If we go for the agenda, first we will talk about what is a threat landscape, what is a traditional threat vectors, and with the GenAI, what type of new threats applications and businesses are facing. We'll also talk about how the Chief Information Security Officer or CIOs, what's on their top of mind, and as a developer, how we can collaborate with them in actually having these security embedded in our solutions. We'll also talk about some of the best practices if you're developing some agents, Copilots on Power Platform. We'll talk about certain aspects of it, what you need to build and put in place in your solutions. Followed by, we do share some demos as well on these aspects from Power Platform, how we can actually secure our applications. And in the end, we'll give you an actionable checklist, a documentation which you can take for your solutions to make sure they are secure by design, secure by default, and it is using secure operations. So first, I want to make sure there is no solid AI transformation without solid cyber foundation. If any AI-driven business cannot thrive without a robust security measures. The problem in the current scenario is, with all the evolution in the technology, the adversaries and bad actors, they can also use the GenAI and in a creative way to actually try to exploit the vulnerabilities of the applications. So as a developers and makers, we have to not only make sure the traditional threat vectors, which covers the applications, cloud, data, network, identity, but we have to also, within our applications, as makers and developers, we have to think about how from the GenAI prompts and the response grounding, we have to secure the application in this regard. I'm sure you have seen a lot of different AI announcements in this Microsoft Build. And as a developer, our perception is that we want to take all these new features, new announcements, and everything, and start using it, embedding it in our technology, in our use cases, in our applications as well. However, if we see from the perspective of the Chief Information Security Officer or CIO, they want to move with the security and governance in place. And that's why there is always a tension exists between moving or adopting these GenAI technologies and how to organizations, enterprises, and businesses actually adopt in a secure and governed way. So let's look at different aspects over here. If we see from the Chief Information Security Officer aspect, they are looking to how they can avoid data leaks, how they can actually make sure the data is secure, it's compliant with the regulatory requirements as well. At the same time, the CIOs, they will be focusing on, or they will be looking into the visibility from the developers and makers, from the tools as well, like how these GenAI and these items get adopted in their enterprises as well. Is it being reviewed by somebody? What are the checks and balances in place in this regard as well? And how they can improve the efficiency, cost, benefit analysis, ROI of these things as well. And from the makers and developers, we have to be working with the business to adopt these new features as well. And we are also being asked now to collaborate with the security stakeholders as well for the reviews, audits, and make sure we are incorporating these aspects in the design from the start. So as we move forward, I will share with you some of the best practices and then some demos in this regard as well. So first of all, if you are creating new agents or even Power Apps, it's always start with the environment. We usually, when we start new projects, new initiatives, we want to start producing some use cases on it, and sometimes we often ignore one of the basic aspect of it, that environments has to be secured. When it's come to selecting the regions of the environment, what type of users should have access to it, what is the proper policies of the security roles in it, and sometimes since we see different type of organizations, there are certain departments in the IT who are responsible for it. Sometimes the developers are spinning off, trying to test new things as well. So some things we don't want to fall something in crack. Always start with securing the environment, because once we set up some things over here, then it actually dictates how the applications and things get behaved into it. The another aspect from the environment is, like, as the enterprise go, they have different business units. Maybe they are using some environments or dev tests, some from production and testing as well. Maybe they are deploying for global different offices or different departments as well. And so the complexity grows with different number of environments. We always recommend, and one of the best practices, to group those environments together. And there are certain rules right now which we can enable on that. For example, if your organization is trying to build some agents, so we can classify certain set of environments where these agents can be built, and we can enable the AI prompt, which itself is a very good feature where you can actually ask a very complicated prompt and it goes, fetch the results and give back to your application. Or maybe what is the strategy for data retention on certain group of environments. So when we classify the environments into certain groups, we can define these rules over there. So not a developer or IT administrator, they don't have to go to individual environments to configure it. The grouping of the environments dictates what are the allowed items from the security and governance side can be used over there. The second aspect over here I want to share is that many times when the Power Apps developers or even the Power users or the developers, they want to build some applications, they actually start using the same environment together. And there is oftentimes different conflicts rise from it because different people are using it for different aspects, different strategies as well. There is an option called a default routing of the environment. So if we configure it, for each developer or each person, when they are trying to use the environment, it will be by default routed to their personal environment. They can test certain things as a playground over there under certain rules which we defined earlier. And they can actually have their own isolated environment. They can play on it. Everything is working. Then they can go and move to the other environments or bring more collaborators on the applications they are building. Once we started developing the agents, by default, if you create an agent in a Copilot, it's secure by default. What does that mean is that every agent we are creating in Copilot Studio, by default, it gets authenticated from Entra ID. And the user who is using this thing is getting access to the data which that user has access to it. So this option is available. However, as a developer and maker, an organization, based on the use case, you have an option that if you want to embed this agent somewhere else outside the Teams, M365, you can actually enable other manual authentication over there. And just the option over there exists is if you want to make it anonymous accessible on the web. So the point over here is, unless you have these options, and I will show you in the demo later, we can disable the anonymous access to these agents. And on a specific environments where you have a legitimate use case where you want to publish it to the website as an anonymous agent, then only on those environments you can configure the policies for anonymous access. Otherwise, on the other environments, it will be used as authenticated by default. Once As a developers and makers, we start building the agents together. The complexity grows because sometimes we involve more collaborators to work with us in certain agent development. Maybe somebody created work for Power Automate Flow, or maybe somebody want to write an AI prompt, or maybe connector over there. So when different folks are collaborating, oftentimes some of the security best practice get missed because it's a gray area who is responsible for that. We do have something called Maker Secure Copilot warnings over here, and it's when you are publishing or republishing the certain agents, it provides you these warnings over here. For example, maybe we are using a connector which was used by the, what context we have to pass on it. We have to make sure not the owner or the builder who actually publish this connector or make this connector, their context is being passed to it. We want to make sure the user context who will be using it in the actual chatbot, their context get passed into it. And if we are sharing this agent to everybody or in the organization or in this agent, the anonymous access is being configured. So these warnings play a pivotal role when we are publishing or republishing and collaborating with different builders and developers in our scenarios for the Copilot publications. Another thing is, as you heard in the conference, Copilots and agents, it ingest the data, and the generative answers it generates is based on the data on which it's ground on. The important aspect is, as you as a developer are responsible to protect that data, because the data which is available for ingestion to the Copilot, it will be served to the users in their customer interactions. If you have a case like, for example, SSN or email addresses, it's better to use the data masking feature on those columns. Let's say you have a table in Dataverse and there is certain sensitive fields on it. It's better to mask these data over there. So if somebody asks a query about it in the Copilot, it grounds the data and it will show in the mask format. So data is your secure data in the tables itself, and any response the Copilot will generate, it will be actually based on the mask data. The feature is still in the preview, but you can use it and test it over there, and I will show you a small demo about that as well. Now, I will show you some more things that there are many new features from different teams within Power Platform, Dynamics 365, and Copilot Studio is being released on the security aspects. And it's more often very difficult for everybody to follow the best practices. Recently, in a preview, on the Power Platform, Microsoft released a security hub. It's a central place, a page, where you can see the different suggestions based on your environment, what are the security situation over there, like, for example, some recommendations on that, which you can configure over there. And it gives you the opinionated view from where you can, based on your requirements, based on your needs, you can actually pick and use and implement these features over there. It also gives the visibility to CIOs or somebody in your organizations who are looking for what is the governance aspect of it. You can share this dashboard with them so they can review these things over there. So let's switch to some demos in this regard. So if you can see my screen over here, I'm in the Power Platform Admin Center in the new mode. And if you go over there, we have a tab over here for security. If I come over here, we do have multiple options. But before that, I want to share with you what does this security score means. If you click on it, it has the ranges from low, medium, and high. And if we go down, it actually shows you a different suggestions as well. For example, if you see some of the recommendations over here, I have around 30 plus environments on this tenant, and it is showing me what are the current situation and giving me some recommendation as well. So based on this, if I come over here, and if I, for example, enable a firewall in one environment or two, it actually gives some score on it. So your score is being calculated, your tally divided by the total possible number of the score, multiplied by 100, and this gives you a view what type of security options you can select to enable on your environment as well. So let's take an example of, for the few cases. So what I did was to show you some examples. I have a sample Copilot agent, and the environment I have is actually, I have an environment group, which is I'm using it for agent builders environment. In it, I have 2 of my environments already configured, and let's make sure that we implement some security measures on it. So if you go over there, I'm going to the data and privacy settings, and I want to make sure that which connectors and what type of data they can ingest or the connectors can be used on these environments for my agent building. So I can go and create one more policy. And the policy, let's say I'm saying, it's a Contoso. I create the policy by name for Contoso Finance Agent, and it shows me what type of the connectors are possible to use in this environment. So I can say, okay, I want to use the Microsoft default connectors, for example. I allow those, and I will say I want to move all this to the business, which are allowed, and all the others, let's say, I just want to block them. However, let's say I want to make sure that the agents I'm creating, it can use a data from the SharePoint or OneDrive or these knowledge sources. So I can go over there, and if I search on the knowledge, if I want agents to use the knowledge from the SharePoint, or I want to upload some files over there, or I want it to ground or reason over the public website data, I can select the options. If I want to allow them, then I will say I want to move this to business. And for example, if I have a use case where I want to create a bot or for anonymous websites, I can actually enable this chat without Microsoft Entra ID authentication in Copilot Studio. But for the most part, if we want to create the agents for our business users, so we will keep it blocked. So nobody by mistake publish an agent which is anonymous, get access to the unauthorized resources. Keeping all these things same, I can move next. And I can select which environments I want to apply these settings. I can select from the list of environments where I want to apply this setting, apply the policy, and I can publish the policy. And we can create multiple policies as well in case we want to apply on our environments. Let's say we build the agents. This is my agent screen. And if I can just show you over here, I have a sample agent. It's called Contoso Finance Agent. And I built this agent, and it's time for me to share with other users. So this is an agent which is using some Dataverse knowledge, some websites, some tools I have configured over here as well. And I want to share with different users. If I go over here, I can share it with everyone in my organization. I can share with few people. Like for example, I add a couple of users over here. And if you can see, it is allowing me to share this thing, no restriction on it. But imagine a scenario. Maybe you creating it for finance team, and finance users are just up to 5 users. So you want to build some safeguard. Nobody can actually publish certain financial ingested data agent to the users outside their original scope by mistake, maybe to the all organization, to other people as well. Or maybe if you're testing, or you're an IT administrator, and there are certain people who are working on some important project, and you want to make sure only a very limited number of people can actually use this, and you want to make certain controls. So we can create a policy on that. So let's say I can go back over there into the Security Hub. There's an option called Manage Sharing. I click on that. And I can select the group of the environments where I want to apply the policy. Okay. This was my group where I want to apply the policy. I can go to the manage sharing. And over here, I can actually restrict that I just want them not to share it to any security groups. And I want to limit it to only specific number of people where they can share the bot. So this way, if you have a published bot, so you can, based on the number of users where you anticipate which are the legitimate users, we can control that. Especially in the development and testing phase as well, we can secure that something which is ingesting the data and we haven't properly tested it, it can only be shared with a limited number of resources. So once we actually enable this setting, the setting got enabled. If I go back to my Copilot Studio and go over the agent, and go to the share, I can share it with Jane, no issues there. But if I try to share with somebody else, you see the restrictions start coming in. So any restrictions we put in, it will start popping in. So it will not allow me to share certain things outside the scope of it. So if I remove certain from there, it can work on it. Applying these type of security policies on certain environments or certain places, it helps us safeguard against data leaks and make sure that only authenticated users can access to those type of information. Moving on. Sometimes we do have a scenario where we actually publish different applications or different use cases, and we want the users to access it from certain locations. Right now, if I have access to it, I can build some connector, something, export the data outside of it, because organizations may have data on the Dataverse tables, and there is a lot of data over here. I can show you, or for example, I have an application. It's just a sample application. It is accessible over the web. We can restrict this, but for example, a company has certain locations, certain areas from where these applications get accessed. We can restrict based on the firewall settings as well. To show that, we can go to the security hub. In the identity and access, there's something called IP firewall. I can again select the agents where I want to apply this thing. I can go over there, set up firewall. I can enable the firewall over here. If we want this environment to access the services from different IO services, we have a long list of services. We can enable that as well. If you just want to enable the firewall for auditing purpose, to capture the request only, you're not implementing the firewall, just want to capture from which sources the requests are coming to this environment or these applications, you can enable in the audit mode. But if we want to enable it on certain IPs, I can just go ahead, provide certain IPs from where it should be accessible. Press save. It may take 5–10 minutes to get enabled, but let us check it. So if we go back to our environment, and if I try to go to my application, if you see, access with the application which was accessible before, it was blocked due to the IP. Again, if I go over there, if I try to open any table or something, you see the warning start appearing. It will not allow me to go through any data access to the table. It is useful, this feature is, to make sure there is no data exfiltration, data leaks in case, like for example, nobody can export the data out from unauthorized locations as well. So based on your organization's actual logical approved locations, offices, or maybe somebody's working remote on these type of things, you keep IP lists, and you can use up to, I think, 200 kind of IP addresses over there, which can actually secure, so nobody outside the access can use it. Apart from the intra-ID authentication, you can put this type of restrictions on top of it. Sometimes customers, or due to regulation or compliance, even they have a requirement that no one can access the data. And if somebody is accessing the data or some outside entity, it should be logged and approved from compliance process point of view. We do have an option called customer logbox. What does it mean is that typically Microsoft support team use the telemetry and other things to help you in case there is a support ticket to help. In a very, very rare cases, they need to have access to the customer data. So in those cases as well, if we can go and enable the service called customer logbox and press save, so what will happen is in these type of environments, if you raise a support ticket and you have a very sensitive database and you want to keep track that no other outside entity can access that data, is that if in a rare case the support team want to access the data, the request will come over here, somebody will review, approve it, it will be logged, and then the data can be accessible for the resolution of the issue. And then you can actually, you can keep track of it, who requested, when requested, who approved that thing as well. So this option we can use over here as well. One more thing on security you will notice is that there are certain, this green icon is appearing. And it is telling you this setting is available. You need to enable the managed environments in case you want to use this type of settings as well. Okay. Now I want to switch to some slides. Okay. We saw the security page from where you can actually, in a center place, review certain aspects, what is the security situation in your environments as well. You get some recommendations and you can take actions on that. We actually looked into some data policy setup on environments, how we can actually restrict the SharePoint, OneDrive, or authentication aspect of it, or many other things if you want to restrict the makers and developers on the environments as well. We also saw about sharing setups as well, which you can use it not only during the development time, but also once you publish, you can share it with a logical set of users who can access this in the production environment. Then we saw the compliance and firewall aspects of it, how we can restrict the from the firewall and customer lockbox. Some of the other suggestions we have over here is when you're assigning the licenses or giving access to the users or other security rules, it's always highly recommended to use the intra-ID groups. It's easier to manage, easier to look into, easier to get audits and everything, instead of giving access to the individual users as well. We talk about the DLP policies. There are other aspects on the tenants and environments. Only enable the settings which is relevant to you. And you can actually, there are other few recommendations on integrations as well as your pipeline process. So let's say we created, we designed, we created and published the agent. And some of the security features we talk about, best practices based on your policies, and which Microsoft offer in the product has been enabled. So what's next? How we can say, are we safe? The real test comes in how users are using us. Remember, earlier we talked about the threat vectors, the traditional ones, and the Gen AI ones. The situation now we have is, now users can enter prompts in the applications. They can cleverly write something over here and try to get the information over there. And the other aspect of it is that the applications, agents we are building, we can add different data sources to reason over it. Maybe SharePoint repositories, maybe some other tables where the information is being put over there. How we can manage these type of behavior once something got published, and how we can monitor these things. And this is a very interesting aspect we want developers to makers to embed in their development lifecycle. Traditionally, the security teams are you taking care of it. But now, as things got evolved, we want you to think about Microsoft Purview. So what does Microsoft Purview do is, let's say we published certain agents or applications, and it offers you to discover any security risks on it. For example, how the people are writing the prompts in it, what type of information is going outside from it, what type of customer interaction is being done around that as well. Then, let's say you actually put a SharePoint repository over there, and somebody published a new documents over there. It will help you identify if there is some file which got published over there and being used in the Copilot agent in grounding its answer, and it may be missing the sensitivity label. Maybe it's a budget, maybe something for employee policy, which is not yet supposed to be for all organization as well. It helps you protect against that data as well. It will also help you govern against what is the adoption rate of your agents, how, if for compliance, any reporting and metrics in this regard as well. You can try the Purview. It's even this trial as well. And I want to show you some of the features which are available in data security posture management for the Purview as well. So if you see this dashboard over here, it's give you the insights in the Purview once actually enabled it with your agents. And by the way, the agents you can build not only the Copilot one, you can build the other agents, and you can connect with the Purview as well. It gives you rich insights about the interactions, what type of prompts the people are putting it. Are they asking for some sensitive information over there as well? It is actually putting this information over there. It will try to see if somebody tried to extract some information, try what type of user behavior is being driving out of it as well. It will also discover the data which you actually let it run from maybe outside some SQL tables or some other sources as well, or SharePoint files as well, from where actually it's scanning those things as well. If there's missing any sensitivity label, which you have to re-enable, or something maybe which is confidential as well. And for audit purposes as well, for compliance, if there is some user behavior which is actually trying to target and try to get some outside information. Maybe your organization is launching something very sensitive or secret project as well, and somebody is trying to go around different system, try to search over there, try to get the information for that around that as well. So we can actually get this look into from here as well. So far, we talk about a lot of different applications as well. But let's say you are talking with your team members, or maybe this chief information security officer, or maybe somebody else, and they are asking, okay, like one option is the tool provides, the platform provides certain security features, and I show you Security Hub. If you're using other platforms as well, they have these type of thing, and you can show them we can enable these features over there as it comes. But what about how we can think about it as a checklist process, how we can actually evangelize on these things, or actually collaborate if we are covering almost like a 360 view of these things. So we do have a checklist process I will share with you, and you can actually take it, expand it if you like. So let me share with you this process as well. So this is, we are calling it security design and review guidelines. And essentially, if you have something deployed already as a business application on any workload, you can use it. If you are planning or like creating something new, you can use it over there. The links will be there. It is also accessible on aka.ms/sfi for BizApps. And quickly go through what it carries is, in the start, it shows you about the Secure Future initiative. So Microsoft actually, around November of 2023, it was being announced that security as a topmost priority for Microsoft, and we actually launched something called Secure Future Initiative. It has 3 guiding principles: secure by design, secure by default, and secure operations. And we do have 6 pillars underneath it, in which we are actually hardening our products and services, which our customers, partners, and Microsoft is using. And if you want to get more information on that, the link is over there. But essentially, it was actually talking about protecting the identities. It's talking about how to protect the tenants, protecting the networks, these sensitive information, and monitoring these things. And if something happened, the breaches happen, how to accelerate response to that. So if you need more literature, you can go into this link. But the other thing, before I show you this checklist, is we actually just put some literature around security design lifecycle, and it has guidelines on this as well, if you want to go through in detail about this and secure by design business application. The first area about secure by design is we created a kind of a checklist. If you are collaborating on ideating with your team members or the stakeholders, or for example, the security review, you can actually check marks, go through certain suggestions on that as well. The links without any prefix you will find over here. It's applicable to the Power Platform. If it is applicable to specific Dynamics workload like finance and operations or Business Central, it will be prefix over here. But let's say, for example, in the Secure by Design, there's a section on regularity and data location requirements as well. So do we have that type of requirements? It's an open-ended question and some check boxes. You can check and discuss with your team as well, or the business users requirement. Is there any compliance you need for example, GDPR, or is there any industry standards? Is there any requirements to be data residing in certain locations? We have that covered over here. Are you talking about the data model? What type of security you can talk about? We have certain questions as well, and certain links if you have certain specific workloads involved over there. Are you talking about the Copilot authentication? If there is authentication, do you want to keep it anonymous access? Do you want to do it manually due to the use case as well? Or you want to run it, which is secure by default with your Entra ID as well? Are there any responsible AI best practices over here? If there is any compliance requirements over there as well. So you can check about these things over here as well. The other section we have is secure by default. It talks about identity management. Is there MFA is required over there? What about the roles and security as well? If the people have privileged account, oftentimes which we find out is sometimes in your organization, maybe the administrator of Microsoft 365 tenant, they may be the administrator of Power Platform as well, and they may be the administrator for the Azure tenant as well. There is a need for segregating these duties as well, or who carries this privileged account as well? Is it being thought through? It's something. So this gives as a checklist, as a discussion points where you can estimate and may take some preventive actions, or maybe coordinate with other stakeholders about this, how you want to implement it in your organization or in your solutions and implementations as well. The DLP policies, the data loss policies, which we have shown you over there, has it been reviewed as well? Is this allowed? The connectors, we allowed them, because we don't want to, when we are building an agent, we don't want to publish a connector or something which can actually expose the data for any data leaks over there, and only allowed use cases are being covered in this regard from the data transfer aspects as well. Have you talked about audit and logging? What are the requirements over there? Because sometimes when you're using the agents, the interactions with those agents get logged as well. Who should have access to those things? These type of information has to be discussed. Should the makers or the developers who are creating it should have access to the chats or the customer interactions which are being saved? Who should be responsible for that? Is it used for the audit purpose? Is it required? Or does it carry some sensitive information you don't want to log, or you want to purge this after some time as well? What about the application telemetry? Encryption is a very important aspect over here. One aspect which we talk about is something called customer managed encryption keys. By default, the data is being encrypted. Like say you create something on Microsoft tenant, Microsoft provide this key, and it encrypts that as well. Do you want a customer supposed to provide from the key vault a key which is used to encrypt the data at rest as well? If you want to make sure that there is options how you can enable it on business application, this has to be thought through, discussed about it, if there's a strategy or policy around that as well. Going forward to the next section. In the secure operations, how the retrieval, data archival and retention could happen, we have the topics over there as well. If, for example, you want to capture, for example, incident response and backup restores. If something happen, who is responsible for what? Like, what will be your, as a maker and developer, is you have to play a role in it, how it get logged, who will take an action on that. So what's the strategy and policy into this thing as well? So these is the kind of a checklist we actually have created, and it's not covering the 100% of the features, but it is giving you a start point that under the SFI, Secure Future Initiative, all these principles, we actually listed business application, different areas, and you can actually expand on it, build on it based on your use cases, the applications, the technologies you are using. You can build and use that and have an initial talking point which we can collaborate on security when you're building new applications or actually reviewing the existing one as well. It can, lastly, it talks about the Sentinel or Purview if you want to monitor your publish workloads as well. So the important key takeaways on the security is, like, we see a lot of people are excited about the AI transformation. Everybody is talking about it. Everybody is trying to experiment with it and use it about it. But no AI transformation is successful or possible or will be thriving without a solid cyber foundation. And interestingly, how these things, the tools are getting evolved, we as a developers and makers has to actually incorporate in our development tasks how we think about security, not as an end item or not another team talking about it. It's a valuable skill to develop and master in, because it supports our multi-horizon activities which you're doing as a developer. The first thing, the key takeaway is start the security discussion as soon as possible. If you have an existing workloads, it's always somebody has to raise a flag. Somebody asks for review, give the suggestions into that as well. The second key takeaway is a lot of cool features is being used. Many of these things are enabled. We call it secure by default in your environments as well. In certain, some things need opt-in, or based on your scenarios, you have to configure, have a look into those as well. The third thing is the security hub page, which I have showed you. It's available in public preview. Please evaluate it and use it over there. Microsoft Purview. Use the trial. Try to see where you can actually build or incorporate with your application. It gives you pretty cool insights about the data protection once some agent or some application is live as well. Lastly, the security checklist. It's available, and try to use it, expand it, customize it. And we do have some sessions if you are interested in other topics, related topics about the security and governance, about the Power Platform, and if you want to use it with the Purview as well. So thank you very much for your time. If somebody can use the mic, if there are questions, so feel free to ask.
Hello, thanks for the talk. Do you have that as a URL that we can get to somewhere?
Yes, so two things. If you want a URL for the checklist, it's aka.ms/sfi for BizApps. If you want access it right now. But what we are doing it will be available if you go to the session page. There was a link called sample code. You can click on it. It's available over there. So you can get it over there. Thank you.
I really like the secure design review guideline. I was wondering, is there a good set of tutorials or how should I say, hands-on labs that can be attached to it so it will become more real and is usable for enterprises?
That's a good question about doing the hands-on. We do have the trial environments or CDX environments where you can try these things. The one recommendation I suggest over there is enable the managed environment over there. It will give you more rich set of features where you can try these new security features on it. But again, the security, many features we have shown you is the possibilities, but every organization have a different use cases in this regard as well. You can set up the developer environments, you can set up the sandbox environments. It's available. You can go to Power Platform website as well. You can set up these things, or even from Microsoft 365 trial, and set up these things and try out over there, and then use it in your real environments. The options are available over there.
Makes sense. I remember a few years ago where the solution checker was not the best, but was still there. Something was there in the Power Platform. We tried to use it and consume into pipelines. I really like this checklist approach. It would be nice to have this actually available as a checker to whatever extent possible in pipelines. So for workloads, we can use it.
Thank you for the feedback. We are actually evolving. The current approach is we are sharing this as a guidelines over there, but we are collaborating with different teams how we can give our customers and partners more on AI and security feature adoptions. Something may be released as a guidelines, something like you suggested as well. The teams are thinking how to incorporate more and more these checks as well. That's why if you see one of the feature, we talk about the security warnings when we are publishing the agents, it's showing you these warnings as well, and the security hub like a central place for these things. So things are coming in, and pretty soon, based on the feedback, there will be more enhancements in these areas.
One last request. Is there a Copilot equivalent where we can use it as a query agent as we are having conversations on how to make sure that some of these design review topics are well discussed?
Can you actually elaborate a question, please? Sorry.
So as you were presenting it, there was a lot of wisdom coming through with your experience and all. But what I'm thinking about is there a Copilot assistance? It's almost like a Copilot secure SDR analyst, secure design review analyst, right? So that would be a assistance to have handy when we have the conversations with business units and business developers and the security software architects.
That's a good suggestion about using an agent or something for some configuration aspects of it. Like I'm just not limiting to security, but there are some configuration aspects to it. I'm not aware of it like any product team is directly working on that, but in finance and operation, we do have a sidecar side functionality within Dynamics 365, which is having these type of, like, you can ask a question and it giving you how to configure those aspects of that. So maybe there are multi-agents and everything is coming, so stay tuned. There will be some more enhancements into that.
Are you okay with one more question? Okay.
Please, please.
So 6-7 years ago, we started writing our own SharePoint and CRM configuration item scrapers, just because there was no configuration data accessible through APIs. So we had to do those things so that we could review those configuration details and say, well, there are some tables which don't have auditing enabled, or entities that didn't have auditing enabled. I was wondering, is there anything that you can suggest on how security configuration reviews can be automated so that they can then be consumed in pipelines? I don't see that yet. Maybe I'm missing something in there.
Yeah. Nothing comes up on top of my mind on that regard. We do have some, like a kind of there are some connectors available for Power Platform, like in some of the partners, and they are actually using it in the pipeline. They are doing some deployments as well as making some checklist as well. I have to see, like, is there something ready-made from Microsoft, something coming into it this regard? The only thing I know is that many features are being implemented in the security, and sometimes in the publishing process, they are getting reviewed, and we're trying to educate. It's like our SFI framework, many of the things are coming enabled by default. That was like, we are trying to cover that it's not optional, which makes sense. It should be enabled by default as well. But in certain things, it's basically a user choice or a customer choice. So I have to check if there is any specific on your use cases coming, but many of our product teams are working, actually embedding it in their deployments and making it by very easy as a SaaS-based configurations, so users can actually make sure it's enabled by default, and even once it's deployed, these are over there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Before we wrap up, anybody has any other question? Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful Microsoft build and have security incorporated in all your workloads. Yes, sir, you have a question.
Could you say that URL one more time, a bit slower? I still didn't get it.
Yes, aka.ms/SFI for BizApps. I will help you afterwards as well. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you.